The Variety Artist, episode 12. This one is all about promoting your show during your show. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, my free copywriting checklist is done. Finally! Have you ever looked at a blank web page or sales letter or postcard and said, where do I start? Well, this checklist will get you going. It has every component that you need to write copy that sells. Just go to my website at thevarietyartist.com right after this podcast and get it. It's absolutely free. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your phone or mobile device and tell a friend. It really helps me a lot. Today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com. They're offering you, the Variety Artist, a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at thevarietyartist.com/book. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Just go to thevarietyartist.com/book right after this podcast and get your free audiobook. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome to The Variety Artist, providing aspiring artists and entertainers with in-depth discussions from top performers from all over the world. So get ready to book some gigs, make some money, and have some fun with your host, John Abrams.
Our guest today is a master magician, actor, comedy writer, and all-around funny guy. As a magician, he's performed at comedy clubs, casinos, college campuses, and just about every venue you can think of. As an actor, he's made appearances in South America, the Orient, Italy, Canada, Spain, and of course the United States. And he's written for many famous celebrities and comedians. Variety artist, I give you Robert Baxt.
Oh, thanks for having me, John. I'm very grateful to be had.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to have you on my podcast. Thanks for doing this, Robert.
My great pleasure, John. I've known you for many, many years. We've worked together on many, many shows. I'm here to help.
I'm glad. In fact, the first time I ever met you, I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was at some sort of a corporate event, and I go in and I'm setting up my show, and I hear some guy in the audience doing, I can't really say it's close up, but doing strolling magic. And I keep hearing this coin dropping in a bucket, and people are laughing and having a great time, and someone's saying something, I can't quite make it out. So I set up my show, and I do my show, and I finish my show. A guy walks up to me. It was the guy that was doing all the strolling. And of course it was you. And walks up to me and gives me a little piece of paper. And I said, what's this? You say, oh, I wrote some jokes for you for your show. I watched your show. I enjoyed your show. And I wrote some jokes for your show. Here you go. And I read the jokes and they're terrific. And I still use some of them in my show today.
Oh, man, I'm good. I had no idea.
You are good. Do you remember that? That was a long time ago.
I do remember that. It was at a country club. I actually do remember it. It was in Coto de Casa. Wow, I have a good memory.
You do have a good memory because I didn't remember that.
And let's see. Of course, I was doing the Miser's Dream, one of the signature tricks that I'm famous and well known for.
Yep.
I have a DVD on how other magicians and performers can pull coins out of the air and out of kids' ears and do it. It's only sold like 5,000 copies.
Yeah, I actually have that, and I use it in one of my shows.
There you go. That's how good a routine it is.
It is a good routine.
And it's available on my website, which is www.robertbaxt.com/shop. HTML. And for those listeners out there who are interested in my products, keep on listening. There'll be a special offer just for the listeners of the Variety Podcast coming up.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll talk about that special offer towards the end, so stick around. We'll definitely get to that. Now, tell us, Robert, about what does your home life look like? I know you've done a number of these podcasts, and you've talked a lot about business and some different things, but let's get to know Robert a little bit. What does your home life look like?
Okay, my home life has changed. I used to spend my life traveling the world. I'm on my 7th passport, as a matter of fact. I would work shows all around, let's see, I've been to Japan, South America. I've been to Saudi Arabia. I've made it to the South Pole, not the North Pole, all through Korea, Hong Kong. Man, at this place, you could look on the map and it's, I have to mark all the places I haven't been yet, since most of the places I've been. But I got married almost a decade ago to a lovely wife who sadly is a civilian. In that she's not in show business, she's got a real job. And 6 years ago, we decided to have a baby. And so now we have a 5.5-year-old little boy. And so since my wife works and has a real job, while I be an artist and do all sorts of variety stuff, I stay home as much as possible these days and don't take those long gigs that would send me out of town for weeks and months at a time on a cruise ship or in a review show. So now I am the king of the private party circuit here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of you. I had kids years ago. My oldest is 25. My youngest is 20. Wow. So I did all the private parties and things all around locally for years and years and years. And now that my kids are a little older, now I'm starting to travel. I'm going to start filling up that passport book.
Man, I'll be happy to give you tips on how to travel with 50 pounds or less. But yeah, by the time this kid's out of diapers, I'll be getting into them is what I'm saying. Yeah, no. My wife drops him off every morning at daycare, and I pick him up every afternoon, and he's starting kindergarten in September. So again, this is the part I want to be. I don't want to go away for weeks and months at a time and have him come home and go, "Oh, mommy says that you're my daddy." Yeah, no, that won't be good.
Yeah, that's one of the traps that a lot of entertainers fall into is they just want the gigs, and then all of a sudden they have kids and a wife, and all of a sudden they're spending a lot of time without them.
Hey, show business is great, but you know what? At the end of my life, I really don't think I'm going to say, "Ooh, I wish I did more shows." I think I'm going to say, "I wish I spent more quality time with my family." So that's what I'm doing.
I think that's very wise. Now, at the very beginning of this podcast, you were, of course, promoting yourself, which is something you're very good at. Tell me about the different shows that you do. How do you promote yourself during your shows?
Okay, so now that I'm a general practitioner of magic, in that I do every single type of show you can possibly think of here in the Los Angeles area in order to stay in town. That means I do strolling close-up magic. I do kids' parties and family events. I do library shows. I do school shows. But for adults, I also do mentalism. I also do very sophisticated close-up and strolling magic. I also do all adult shows for where there are no children present. In each and every one of those shows, my job is not only to do a great show, but to get every other person who's watching my show to go, "Hey, this guy's great. I ought to hire him for my show." And that's so important because here in the Los Angeles area, as many people know, since I'm primarily a magician, there's a place called the Magic Castle in Hollywood that attracts magicians from all over the world.
Yep.
And many live here in town. And if you Google Magician Los Angeles, you'll find there are 450 performers who come up. However, out of those 450 performers, only one of those guys has 292 5-star reviews for their services.
And counting.
Yep, and counting. No, you're right. After this weekend, it could be more. I've already sent out the emails asking for more reviews from this past weekend shows, and there'll be more reviews coming in. But that's me. I'm that guy. So that's my unique selling point. And whenever somebody says, "Ooh, gee, I don't know if I want to spend that much money," I go, "Hey, if it was your wife's anniversary, would you take her to the restaurant that had 2 reviews, 3 reviews, 0 reviews, or the one with 292 reviews?"
How do you get all those reviews? I know you're really, really good, but no matter how good you are, there are people that are reluctant to leave a review.
Oh, of course, out of those 292 reviews, I'm sure I've asked for 4,000 or 5,000 reviews. So it is a numbers game. Absolutely. There are people who are busy. They got other things to do as soon as the show is over and they've paid you. But here, I'll give you the tip.
Sure.
In the moment that they are handing you the money and they're telling you, "Oh my God, you were great," stop them right there at that moment and say, "That sentence you just said, 'Oh my God, you're great.' Will you write that in a review for me?"
Beautiful.
At that moment, you have to hit them hard so they'll remember it. You said it. "Oh, those words, that's so kind. Will you write that in a review for me?" If you do it right then, that's when they'll do it, I find. If you wait until after the show, if you wait till a week later, now they've moved on, they're busy with other things. But in that moment, when they're so pleased that you've done such a terrific show, if you say it to them then, that's when I find I have the most success in getting reviews.
Yeah, and that's when they're the most excited, too, because they just saw you 5 minutes ago. They're excited about meeting you personally. They're excited about what you just did, and they've told you how great you are. It's the perfect time.
Again, I've just taken a crowd from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or less, and I've held them in the palm of my hand for like 45 minutes to an hour or something like that. So they know I'm great, and that's fresh in their memory.
Yep.
The other thing, of course, is that during my show is a commercial for how good my show is. And I'll actually say during my show, hey, if you like this, think about me for your events. And that works differently depending on the show. For instance, I told you I do mentalism and mind reading.
Sure.
So there are a couple of routines that I do that are absolute gobsmackers. Gobsmacking, that's an English term from London for when people are absolutely fried. Their jaws drop. That's how incredible the mind reading or prediction I've just done is. Mm-hmm. At that moment, when I'm getting that applause, when I hear them going, no way, I say back, yes way. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, wow, I bet I should get this guy to come to my event and do this stuff for my group of people. Now, it's funny when I say it in the moment, but it also plants that seed in their head. Ooh, that's right. This guy would be good.
Yeah. And it fits the way you present it. It fits your personality, too.
Of course. Absolutely. All this stuff is specific to me. I realize not everyone can be Robert Baxt. However, they can do many of my tricks by going to www.robertbaxt.com/shop.html.
What there are some other things I've seen you perform in showcasing, and I've seen you speak at Performers University and some different things. And every time I see you speak or do a performance, all around the stage is robertbaxt.com. Tell me about how that came about.
Okay. Again, everyone's got a camera in their phone these days. And as much as you try to say, please don't take pictures, please don't record, it's impossible to stop. You can ask nicely, you can ask firmly. People are just going to do it. As a matter of fact, it's so strange, this coming generation, as a dad of a 5-year-old, I'm trying to raise him to have social skills. But sadly, in the world today, in 2018 and beyond, people would rather record than be in the moment. Somehow it seems more real to them if it's on Instagram and they have proof that it happened. True. Well, take advantage of that. My table has my banner on it. My backdrop has my banner on it. I have a separate banner with my name and logo on it. And the little catch-all, the dump bucket, has my name and logo on it. If there's any photo or any video that they're taking, there is no possible angle they can take a picture from without their getting my name and website on it. Okay? It's nice. It's beautiful. It's not tacky. Some of the posters some people have seen, they're actually very beautiful recreations of old magicians' posters with my picture put in them and stuff, but it still says at the bottom, www.robertbaxt.com.
That solved the problem of, gee, I saw this great magician the other day. He was terrific, but what is his name again?
That's it, because, years ago, people would call me up and go, I kept your business card from 7 years ago because I knew I would need you one day, and I'm so glad I did. But, these days, people just Google. And if they Google and they can't remember me, I won't get the gig. But if they look at the picture that they have in their phone and they go, oh, yeah, that was the guy, Robert Baxt. Now they Google my name and they call me direct.
Right. I do the same thing. Someone will ask me for a business card and I'll say, well, I'm not carrying a business card, but this banner right here that says John Abrams Animal Magic has my phone number and my website on it. Please take a picture of it.
There you go. And again, they'll lose a business card, but since they carry their phone with them at all times, they will always have it in their phone. Nobody erases the pictures in their phone. It's there forever.
Yeah. And they review it and they show their friends what a great time they had.
There you go. As a matter of fact, speaking of phones, let's talk about this. I know somebody asked a question when you posted on the Variety Artist Podcast Facebook page about where that great photo came of me.
Wait, I have to tell you, it's so funny because it was Dawn Morgan, right?
Of course.
Now, Dawn Morgan, for people listening to this that don't know Dawn, she's part of the Anthony the Magic team. She asked who was the amazing photographer that took that spectacular photo.
That's correct, and the answer is Anthony did. And but here it's funny. Of course, she's allowed to promote herself and Anthony as much as I'm allowed to promote myself.
Yep.
And I'm happy to promote Anthony and Dawn because they're great. We were actually working together a week at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And I just happened to realize, oh, look, I've got a beautiful curtain behind me. I've got a beautiful backdrop behind me. My poster's on the wall. I'm dressed up in a suit. Here's the deal. Most of our phones these days are better than the 35mm cameras we used to have. Now, I'm a professional. After years of having my photos taken by professional photographers, I know how to pose, how to smile, how to open my eyes wide, how to suck in my gut, how to make my back straight, how to stick out my chin so that I look good in almost every photo. And since digital photography is cheap, I just gave my camera to Anthony. Now, my camera, this is my cell phone camera now, and said, shoot 1,000 pictures. And in like 7 minutes, he must have shot 60 or 70 pictures. And it's just a shotgun effect because lots of them were bad. But out of those 70 pictures, there were 2 or 3 that were pure gold. And that's the way to get great photos these days. Also great video. Just have someone hold your camera or their cell phone at every single show, and you'd be surprised the clips you can get out of it. I highly recommend it.
And you can see the photo that Robert's talking about on my Facebook page at The Variety Artist. Just go to Facebook and search The Variety Artist, and you can see that wonderful photo. There is a great poster in the back, and then you're in the front with the big question mark with the cards. It's a beautiful photo.
It says everything I want about me. You can see my face from my smile. You can tell I'm in show business. There's some playing cards there. You can tell I'm a magician. Boom. Everything I want in one picture.
Yeah, it has everything. And it looks great because you're in a suit, a hat, you look sharp. Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you, because you do a lot of promoting during your show.
Yes.
Is there ever anybody put off by the promoting during the show?
No. In my case, again, different strokes for different folks. My mentor, when I was a kid, I grew up in New York City, and this is a great story, so I got to backtrack for a moment. When I'm 11 years old, I'm wandering the streets of New York. Hard to believe. There was a time before cell phones when I could just go to my mom and dad. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I'm going out for the day, and I'll be back by dinner time. And they would go, okay. It was New York. I had a subway pass. I get on the subway, and in Manhattan at 304 West 34th Street, I found a magic shop. A wonderful magic shop. A magic shop that had been there for over 100 years. It had been owned by Harry Houdini himself. And after Houdini died, it was bought by a guy named Al Flosso. Al Flosso was still there over 50 years later when I walked up there in 1980. And Al was 85 years old with gusts up to 90. He was like Yoda to me. He was that old. He was that short. He was that wrinkled. He wasn't quite that shade of green. But he taught me a lot of what I know about show business and a lot of what I know about life. Because Al had been a carnival barker back in the 20s at the Sells Flotto Circus. And so I picked up from him in some way that carnival barker mentality. Some people call it a pitchman style. And I'm almost like that guy on TV who goes, but wait, order now before midnight. Operators are standing by.
Yep.
It fits me. It doesn't fit everybody, but it fits me. So, for instance, during my kid show, I always open up every kid and family show, and as a matter of fact, most adult shows, I realize, with a quick routine of very fast-paced and visual tricks. They include my Torn Restored newspaper, which is a special version of it that I sell myself at www.robertbaxt.com/shop.html. But it also includes the linking rings and a magician's trick called the mutilated parasols. And as I'm doing these tricks very fast to music to establish to the crowd that I'm a magician and I'm great, as they're applauding, I go, am I awesome? And people go, yeah. And then I'll go, and do you want me to come to your party too? And everyone in the audience will go, yeah. And I'll go, well, then be sure to call me at least 2 months in advance. I'm booked every weekend. And if I say it like that, it's funny, it's comical, but it also makes them realize, wow, this guy's good. And yeah, I can see why he's booked every weekend. And yeah, we better call him weeks in advance if we want him.
Yeah, I've seen both the mutilated parasol routine and the newspaper tear routine. Great routines, funny, hilarious, and very magical and fooling.
As a matter of fact, that's the most magic I do in my show, because after that, it's less is more. After that, I do nothing spread thin. It's great, but those 3 or 4 tricks at the beginning of my show make it look like I'm a real magician, establish people going, ooh, ah, and then all the other stuff after that is the audience participation stuff and the stuff that packs small but plays big.
Right. And when you hit them hard and fun at the very beginning, it makes the rest of the show way easier.
Oh, because I've won them over. That's exactly what's going on. Hit them with my strongest stuff first, I've win them over, and then I save my next strongest stuff to close.
Right.
So, I mean, the stuff in the middle is still great too, but it's middle material. It's not opener or closer material. Putting together a show could be a completely different podcast we can do one day. The quick tip I always give for putting together a show is go to Vegas, watch Elton John, watch Barry Manilow, watch how their shows flow. Mm-hmm. They have a quick opener. It's called a rouser for their song. They have some ballads in the middle. They tell some personal stories about their life. And then they have a big closer to close the show on. And that applies to music. It applies to bands. It applies to magic and variety artists too.
Yeah, it applies to just about any type of show that you do.
Yep.
So nobody's ever put off by it. In fact, I'm just going to read a little list of the folks. I'm answering my own question here, but some of your testimonials are from David Copperfield, Kim Bassinger, the VP of Affiliate Operations at HBO, the entertainment director at the Flamingo Hilton Las Vegas, the monologue writer from The Tonight Show. So obviously these people are not put off by promoting during your show.
Again, we live in the world where if you don't promote yourself, you'll never get anywhere. So it's not bragging if it's true. I really am that good. And again, it's not me saying it now. It's 292 other 5-star reviews saying it. So I'm allowed to say it too. If I stunk, then promoting myself like that with these types of jokes and lines during my show wouldn't work. But because I am that good, it's now becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
See for themselves how good I am. So when I make jokes about how good I am and how busy I am and how they ought to call me in advance, they get it because they can see it.
Right. And it definitely fits your personality. I do the same thing. I don't do it throughout my show. I'll probably do it more after talking to you. I do it towards the end of my show. So one of the last things that they hear is me saying, hey, if you love this show, bring me back.
Of course, a kiss-off speech, it's called. And yeah, there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And it's a different technique. And certainly it's very effective and it works.
And I think about, too, if I go to see a concert, it never fails. The person doing the concert or the band or whatever says, hey, my T-shirts are out at the door. If you want to grab a drink, you can get a commemorative cup. So they are promoting themselves and making more money during the show.
Absolutely. Again, it's multiple streams of income. As much as we enjoy the actual show part of our lives, and trust me, being in show business is wonderful. All those people who work in an office, nobody ever claps and applauds for them after a hard day at work, okay? It's not like, hey, Jim, that was great filing. Oh, my God, when you stapled those papers together, that was the best stapling I've ever seen. No, that doesn't happen to real people. So, yes, standing in front of people and having them applaud and clap after everything I say and do is certainly the greatest instant gratification anyone could possibly ask for. However, it's tough. You got to get in your car, you got to drive, you got to pack all your stuff, you got to unpack all your stuff, you got to go to the next one after that. Multiple streams of income by selling stuff after the show or on a website like www.robertbaxt.com/shop.html is a fine and wonderful thing. Each one feeds into the other. They see your stuff online and they want to hire you for their shows. You go to their shows and they want to buy your stuff online, whether it's a T-shirt, whether it's a mug, whether it's a CD of your music, whether it's a magic trick, just like the one you did, so they can do it in their shows too.
Right. What would you say to the person that says, I have this great routine, it's perfect exactly like it is, and it's such a classy routine, I would never promote myself during this routine because it's so good exactly the way it is?
Oh, of course. I say that's fine. Again, everyone is an artist in their own way. Picasso cannot tell Van Gogh how to paint because Picasso paints his way and Van Gogh paints his way. They're both artists, but they do it completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
So what works for me doesn't work for everybody. And I don't expect it to work for everybody. It's also, I say, like ice cream. I like vanilla. You like chocolate. Some other guy likes rum raisin. That doesn't make any of us right, and that doesn't make the other guys wrong. It's a personal choice that fits what each of us finds we like as our favorite flavor. So yes, there are classy performers, unlike me, who would never promote during their show. And I respect them for it, and that's their style. I'm not going to tell them how their style is. They're an artist in their own right, in their own way. I only know what works for me and can work for other people. That's why we're sharing it with everybody today, and that's why we should all be thankful to you, John.
Well, thanks.
For having this variety podcast and getting so many different styles of performers to tell us all their secrets.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do without giving away too many secrets.
Okay. Well, I'm waiting for that book you keep talking about that you're going to publish one day.
I will do that.
Please, again, you've been doing this as long as I have, if not longer. So, yeah, you know all sorts of stuff that has worked for you that I bet lots of people would like to know about, including me. So, yeah, please get around to publishing that book or putting out that DVD or however it is you're going to share that information with everyone else.
I am writing it right now as we speak.
Okay.
So believe me, you'll hear about it as soon as it's finished.
Excellent. See, we're promoting you now. See, it does work for other people too. Maybe Robert Baxt knows what he's talking about.
Maybe, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, you've been doing this for quite a few years, so I think you probably know what you're doing.
I have never had a real job in my entire life. I put myself through college and postgraduate school from doing these shows from when I was a kid. And then when I got through school, I decided it was no fun having a real job. It was much more fun doing this for a living. So yeah, I've been doing it all my life.
I read on your website something about a law degree, or you went to school for law?
Here's my secret shame. Yes, I graduated law school, but I never practiced law. I'm not a member of the state bar, and please don't call me up and ask me any questions about the law, because everything I know about law is over 25 years old and only in New York State, and I live in California. But yes, I had a Jewish mother, so I had to go to law school because it was either that or medical school, and I can't stand the sight of blood. But again, my parents didn't even pay for law school. I paid for law school, doing all the birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, corporate events, company picnics, library shows, and school shows when I was a teenager in New York.
All right.
So, yeah, it's possible to do that. But yeah, not a lot of fun to be a lawyer.
Yeah, it's much more fun being a magician, being an entertainer.
I'm a hero to all the guys I went to law school with. They're much richer than I am. They all have, retirement funds and stuff, but they're all miserable. Yeah.
Tell me about, I was on your website, and you have one of my favorite pages. I've seen a lot of different websites, and I've never seen this on a website, your stuff page.
Okay.
I love your stuff page.
That's just a bunch of odds and ends that didn't fit. No, there was, again, nowadays, web pages are made for promotion. People want to see your videos. They want to see your photos. They want to hear descriptions of your shows. Okay, that's how it's supposed to work. However, there were a bunch of funny little gags and bits of business. There was a photo puzzle. There was some things that didn't fit anywhere else. So I just put out a section of my website that said stuff. And that's where it is. And some people call me up and went, I spent an hour and a half clicking on the button that says don't click,
Well, it's really fun because if I'm thinking of hiring Robert Baxt and I take a look at his website, and maybe I've never heard of him before, if I take a look at his website and then I see the stuff page, I say, oh, this guy is way different than anybody else I've seen.
Of course, yes. As a matter of fact, my website is a tiny bit aged at this point. I'm getting redone, but we're going to move over that stuff page with a couple more little jokes and gags and bits of business for those people who want to waste time on my website. But all those things are they're indicative of my personality. So if you like those gags and bits of business that are on my webpage, then of course you're going to go, oh, Robert Baxt, he's a funny guy. We should hire him for our event. Yeah.
Right. Anybody listening to this, take a look at Robert's website, especially that stuff page, because it's so fun.
Well, again, it's at the top of the thing when you go to www.robertbaxt.com/shop.html. You'll see across the bar at the top, it'll say stuff, and you can click, there's a pull down menu and see the wacky little things there if you want to kill 5 or 10 or 15 or an hour and a half. Right there. But that's what we have Facebook for these days. So, you know.
That's right. Tell us about your, I know you don't know I'm going to ask this question. Tell us about your love affair with Gweneth Paltrow.
You get me in trouble. Gweneth Paltrow published once in the New York Post in a magazine. Sorry, not a magazine. New York Post is a newspaper, although some would barely call it a newspaper. That
Am I getting you in trouble?
No. That she had a boyfriend. She didn't mention me by name. She just mentioned she had a boyfriend once who was kind of overweight and had bad teeth. But she really, really loved him. And I'm not saying it's me. I'm not. So there. Let's move on. I'm married now. Don't get me in trouble.
Okay. All right.
I had my teeth fixed. Okay.
We've talked a lot about promotion and stuff. Let's do a brand new game that I'm implementing that gets us to know my guest, you, Robert Baxt, a lot better. It's called Fact or Something John Just Made Up.
Is it fact? Or is it something John just made up?
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read a headline, and you, Robert Baxt, are going to tell us if it's something John just made up or if it's a fact. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. The first headline, Robert was invited, flew to, and attended the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Incorrect. I was busy that day doing the Chaim Samowitz bar mitzvah.
You would have gone, but you were tied up.
Yep. Sorry. Had a gig.
All right. How about this one? Robert has performed magic for a multi-millionaire's bachelor party where there were naked women and little people running around during his act.
Sadly, that one is correct. A millionaire who is famous and everyone would know if I mentioned his name, so I'm not going to mention his name, was a big fan of magic. So he had a bunch of magicians at his bachelor party, but it was also the type of bachelor party with all sorts of naughty stuff going on. So it's kind of hard to get people prepared and willing to watch magic when there are breasts going by.
So when they're running by you and such, and you're just doing your show.
Hey, I get paid, so I force myself. Absolutely.
Tough gig.
No, the opposite. I'll take another gig like that anytime. Yeah.
All right, here's another one for you. Robert has lent money to royalty.
That is correct.
Oh.
Back in the days, man, get this now. I'm on a private plane being flown to audition for a gig. And the guy with me is an actual duke from England. And this was this had to be the late 80s before everyone had a cell phone. And as we get off the plane, the duke and I have been getting along great. I've shown him magic tricks. You never know. I might have been invited to the royal wedding. The duke would remember me and stuff. He needs to make a phone call. And this is before, not everyone had a cell phone in those days. He goes, oh my, do you have any spare change? And I went, yeah, and I gave him all my change so he could make a phone call. And he went, oh, I'll give it back to you. I went, no, just so I can have the story that I lent money to royalty. Please, keep it. So, yeah, that truly, sincerely happened.
And now everybody knows that story.
Okay.
All right, here's another one. Robert was stung by a bee during an outdoor show.
Incorrect. I am always very, very careful. I hate outdoor shows in the nicest and politest way with nothing but love in my heart. If I can possibly avoid doing them, I will. Because the problem with all outdoor shows is not only the bees, you are not in control. You never know when a helicopter is going to go by. You never know when a dog is going to start barking. You never know when a butterfly is going to fly by, and now everyone's attention is taken by the butterfly, the police truck, the helicopter, the bees, anything. So every time someone says to me, oh, we want you to do your show outdoors, I either ask for a lot more money, or I try to explain to them, I can't do the really good tricks outside. If there's an indoor space where I can do the tricks and show, let me do it there, because then I can do the much better tricks. And of course, the much better trick that I'm talking about is that I can hold everyone's attention, because walls don't move during your show, okay?
Yep.
There's indoors and there are walls. I know they can focus on me. If they're outdoors, they can't. And so that's why I won't do outdoor shows, because I don't want to be stung by a bee.
Oh, yeah. And the energy is so much better for me in an indoor show.
Oh, of course. And also just the sound carries. When I'm indoors and there are walls, everyone can hear me. When it's outdoors, the sound carries in different directions, and you get all sorts of ambient sounds. Like I said, of the helicopter going by, of the jet plane landing, of the police siren and stuff that just interrupt your show, and you have no control over any of those things.
Yeah, one time I was invited to do a show at an elementary school in the middle of a desert area,
Right.
and an outdoor show. And like yourself, I said, it's an outdoor show. There are certain tricks that I cannot do outside. So I arrive at the elementary school, and there are 60 or 70 mile an hour winds going on.
Wow.
So I put my one of my cases on the cement stage, and it completely blew off.
Wow.
Just the case itself, without any other props. So I put it down in a place where there wasn't any wind, behind a wall, and I go to the principal and I said, I can't do the show. I literally cannot do the show. My stuff will be flying all around. The audience is going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to be a disaster. So we ended up doing them inside, but I was never asked back because I don't know if I was seen as a problem. The problem was the 60 or 70 mile an hour winds, but it doesn't matter. The smarter thing would have been to charge double or triple the fee, so that way he decided to do it indoors, or do what you're suggesting, suggest you can do better tricks and that type of thing.
Well, no, and that's just it. I find by charging more for an outdoor show, it makes them go, oh, you mean I can save money if I do the show indoors?
Right.
Okay, let's do it indoors then. Just that simple. And I really do. I charge them so much more money that they have to go indoors. I can't imagine anyone spending the money to have me for my outdoor show, but occasionally, once or twice, they do go, okay, in which case, I don't care. Let the wind blow 60 or 70 miles an hour, and let me never get booked ever again because it turned out to be a bad show because it was outdoors. Look at how much money I got for this one outdoor show.
You get a big old fat check at the end.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. Again, I can do a great show outdoors on the perfect day when it's not too hot and it's not too cold and the wind isn't blowing, but you can never tell for sure if that's going to be like that.
That's true.
They ask you to do it outside, and when you get there, there's no shade. And they expect kids and families to sit outside with the hot sun beating down on their heads for 45 minutes or an hour. And they go, well, we're outside all day. I go, yeah, but you're moving back and forth. If you have to sit still for a show, you can't sit still for 45 minutes or an hour in the hot sun. Oh, we didn't know that. Yeah, that's why you should have listened to me and had it indoors. All right, let's move on. I was getting bitter there for just a moment. I'm over it now.
Yeah, just real quick, I've done those shows where it's 100 degrees out and they decide that it's real smart to put the audience with no shade in 100 degrees. And the audience is really into the show for the first 5 or 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sure, for 5 or 7 minutes, yeah. But then for the next 47 minutes, you're like, watching them all wander away until you're working for trees and grass,
And they're melting, I know. Yeah. All right, final headline. Here we go.
Yes.
Robert saved a man's life doing CPR during one of his shows when the guy laughed so hard he collapsed.
That sounds like it could be true. but it's not. I've never made anyone laugh that hard.
Oh! Okay.
Well, maybe you, John. I'm making you laugh that hard, but no, that one never happened. However, I do know CPR. It's an important skill to have. Like I said, I got a 5-year-old. I'm prepared. I used to be a Boy Scout when I was a kid, and always be prepared in so many ways. I wear both a belt and a suspenders. Okay. Yeah. No. I have an emergency show in the trunk of my car because once years ago I left my show behind, going from one show to the next, and once that can only happen to me once, and then I'll be prepared for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a first aid kit. I got, jumper cables in case my battery dies. Yeah, be prepared. It's the Boy Scout motto, but it should be the motto of every variety performer. Don't just have a plan B, have a plan C and a plan D and a plan E too.
That's right.
And a bee sting or a paper cut or a splinter or anything like that can just kill the entire show. So I have, a little pair of tweezers and a magnifying glass in the first aid kit, Band-Aid, mercurochrome, all sorts of stuff like that. Because, yeah, it has happened. I have gotten a paper cut and stuff like that. Yeah, but I got to go do the show just the same.
That's right. My daughter loves borrowing my car because she always says, "Oh, Dad, you have everything in your car. Whatever I need, it's in there somewhere."
Yep.
I say, "Yeah, it is."
No, by the way, I also keep cash money in my car. Nobody steal my car.
Yeah.
But
By the way, Robert drives a...
Yeah. See if I'm going to tell you now. But yeah, sometimes everyone's paid you with check that day, or they've given you your credit cards, and you go, "Oh man, I'm dying. I need something to eat or drink, or I need gasoline." And you're like, "Oh wait, I got no cash. I left my wallet. Oh, I keep an extra 20 in the car just in case. There's emergency money. Be prepared."
Smart.
That was fact. Or something John just made up.
Tell us one of your horror stories. You've done thousands of shows. You've got to have a couple of good horror stories.
Thousands of horror stories. Oh man, I wouldn't know where to begin. There are so many horrible horror stories and stuff. Okay, my favorite one. Yeah. Some people have a different concept of time than you and I do. Okay, I always ask when people say, "Oh, we want you to start the show at 1:00." Next question I always ask is, "Are you inviting everyone for 1:00? Or is 1:00 when you want to start the show?" And they'll normally go, "Well, I'm inviting everybody for like 12:30, or we at 1:00, and I wanted to start the show as soon as they get there." And I always explain to them, "Look, wherever you are, I know people don't get anywhere on time anymore these days. I don't know why that is. I only know that if you invite everyone for 1:00, they'll still be rolling in closer to 2, and they still won't all be there. And if they're kids and family audiences, I always say to them, they'll be hungry. You should feed them first."
Yep.
So that if they have food on their stomachs, they can sit still without bouncing off the walls to see my show. So you should probably have me around 3:00 or so if you plan on inviting everyone for 1. I say that every show. I go over that with them. They go, "Oh yeah, right. That makes so much sense."
So did this happen to you at one point in time? Is that why you made that rule?
Well, no, I've made that rule, but it's also happened because even though I've said that rule, I did show up one time at a 1:00 show where they said, "Oh, no, everyone's getting there at 11. So 1:00 will be fine. They'll all be there by then." And you know what? At 1:00, no one was there.
Oh.
No one but the family who hired me was there. And I got another show to get to. And this is the biggest horror story in the world. So I go, "Oh, okay, I can wait 15 minutes. No problems. Let me go." And it's just so sad to be sitting there with nothing. Let me go out to my car and I'll make a phone call, and I have some business I got to conduct. And, actually I went out and checked my Facebook page and stuff, but
yeah. And then you're calculating in your head, how can I shorten the show? How can I make it to my next gig and still make the folks happy?
Well, you know what? I waited half an hour, and that was all I could wait. And I said, "Look, I either have to start the show now or shorten the show to mere moments, because there's no way I can make my next gig." And when you hired me, I always make it clear to them, it's like an airline seat. They're hiring me for that specific time frame. There's only 1:00 every Saturday. And if they want me for that 1:00 on that Saturday, I'm turning down not only every other show at 1 o'clock, I'm also turning down shows at 2 o'clock. I'm also turning down shows at noon so that I can get to their show in time and then make it to my next show at 3 or something like that.
Right.
So I wound up doing the show for just the 3 kids and the family who hired me. I did as great a show as I possibly can. It was a great show, but without an entire crowd full of people, a crowd full of people, the energy feeds on itself.
Right.
It builds and it builds and it builds. With 3 people, it's good, but it's nowhere near as good as it would be if there'd been 35 people.
Yep.
I take their money, and it kills me. I don't want to take their money, but I have to take their money. In the same way the airline, if you plan a trip to Hawaii, and when you get there, Hawaii on that day is rainy and stormy, and there's a hurricane, the airline doesn't go, hey, it's not our fault that Hawaii has got bad weather that day. You still owe us for flying you there.
That's right.
Well, these people still owed me. And just as soon as I took the money and I'm walking out, 40 people now show up.
Of course.
Walking in. Yep. And I'm like,
I have a horror story that fits exactly into what you're saying.
Okay.
I go to do an elementary school years and years ago in Ventura. For me, that's quite a drive, 2-hour drive. So I leave really, really, really early in the morning, so early that I miss the Los Angeles traffic.
Great, 5 a.m.
Yeah, maybe even earlier.
Wow.
So I get there nice and early, maybe an hour before I even have to set up.
Perfect.
So I'm saying, yeah, great. I'm there. I'm nice and early. I'm an hour early even before I have to set up. I'm just going to take a little nap in my car. So I set the alarm and take a nap in my car. I get up. I'm in perfect time. The show starts, I don't know, let's say 9 o'clock. It's now about 8 o'clock. And I say, well, great. I have lots of time to arrive at the show, arrive at the school, set up the show, get it going, get it ready by 9 o'clock start time. So I show up and I go into the front office. I said, hi, John Abrams, here to do a school assembly for you. And she says, oh, everybody's waiting for you out in the back. I said, what do you mean everybody's waiting for me out in the back? Doesn't the show start at 9 o'clock? She says, no, show starts, it's supposed to start at 8 o'clock. And it was 8 o'clock. And
Right.
I have nothing set up. And so I go to the back, and there is the entire school
Right.
out in the yard.
Right.
And I talked to the PTA person that hired me, and she said, oh yeah, we changed the time up an hour. I forgot to tell you. Oh, and by the way, right over there, that's our superintendent of schools. He's in charge of all of the schools in this district.
Oy.
And there I am with nothing set up by myself. So I try to set up while they do a little tap dance. And by the time I was set up, I think I did a 10-minute show or something, and then they were done, and then they had to go to recess. So that's my horror story that fits into exactly what you're saying.
Again, here's the tip for everyone who doesn't do this. It's common sense, but common sense isn't so common. Every single show, I call the day before. And
I do
confirm
too.
with them and say to them again the time. I'm going to start at 9 a.m. I'm sure you did it too. But this way, I can point to someone and go, hey, I spoke to Sally in the office, and Sally in the office, I confirmed with her yesterday that the show time was 9 a.m. Yep. So again, these are the ones where you take their money and you show them the contract printed out, which I always bring with me to every show.
Yep.
Because I've also had that where they go, oh, is the balance $150? I thought the balance I only owed you was $50. And I go, no, here's a copy of the printed out contract that you got, that I emailed you, that you agreed to when I took your credit card. See, it says $150. Oh, okay. Right. But this way they can't go, oh, I thought it was. There you go.
There you go. And it's probably something they signed and obviously saw.
Yep. But again, that was weeks ago. It's been so long since then. They've forgotten it, haven't thought about it. We're so busy with other parts of the party or the event and stuff. Yeah. So that's why you have it in writing. That's why you check with someone the day before. And still things go wrong. That's it. That's the problem. As much as we are OCD about this stuff, checking and rechecking, things can still go wrong. Wait, one more horror story. How's this?
Yes, bring it on.
Okay, I live in Culver City on the west side of Los Angeles. I have a show in the Valley in North Hollywood.
Okay.
For those people not familiar with Southern California, the only way to get from the west side of Los Angeles to the Valley, North Hollywood, is the 405 freeway. Some people call it the 405 freeway because it takes 4 or 5 hours to get anywhere on it. Okay?
Yep.
In my case, the show's only 45 minutes away from my door to there. And I leave an hour and a half in advance of when I want to get there to set up. So, right, I like to get set up a half hour early. So I'm actually leaving 2 hours before the show to give myself plenty of time. Right at the Sepulveda Pass, at the part where the 405 freeway goes through the mountains, and there is no way to get off the highway at this point, the entire highway is closed for an accident.
Oh, no.
And I am stuck right behind the accident. I'm not panicking at first because I go, well, I got 45 minutes to an hour to get there. And once I get through this, I'm 20 minutes away.
Sure.
So it should have no problems. And I could cut down on the amount of time it takes to set up my show. And time starts ticking away. Yep. I'm there for an hour till they finally clear. And by the way, this wonderful thing about cell phones, I call and explain to them. And they go, oh, yeah, we heard about that on the news. I go, look, I'm right behind the first line of cars that are stopped. As soon as the police and fire trucks leave, I'll be there. And I wound up getting there a half hour after start time. And I did the quickest setup of any show that I could possibly do. But it was the greatest show they ever saw because they realized that I'd killed myself to get there. They appreciated that I kept in touch with them all throughout what was going on. They wrote me a great review, and they gave me a big tip, and they all had a great time.
Nice.
Yep.
So you turn that into a good thing instead of a horror story.
That's it. You turn every horror story into a success story by being prepared.
Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have for some of our listeners are just beginning, just starting out? What kind of advice would you have for them?
Never give up, never give in. Seriously, keep on keeping on. Some of these are paydays and some of these are pay your dues. At this point, I have done so many pay your dues shows, retroactive to the time my grandfather was born, okay? I've gotten through all those shows, you know, where things have gone bad and they've been horror stories because at this point, there's almost nothing that can possibly happen that hasn't happened to me at least once before that I don't have an out for, that I don't have a way to make it better. So the only way to do this and become good is to do 1 million shows. No one has ever gotten great in their living room.
True.
It's impossible. You have to stand in front of people and do this to practice it. You can practice all the moves. You can practice your juggling. You can practice your ventriloquism, your lip control, your sleight of hand. But until you do it in front of people, real people, not your mom, not your kids, not your wife, you'll never know. So you have to keep on doing this as much as you possibly can.
It's true. I can't tell you how many times I've practiced something in my bedroom, in my living room, and thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be hilarious. And then it falls flat. Exactly. And then the opposite happens too. I'll put something together that I think, oh, it just progresses the story. It's not really very funny. And it's hilarious. And the audience loves it.
Again, it's like a river with a rock in it. You get a unpolished rock, but after weeks and weeks and years of being polished by the rushing river, that stone comes out so smooth and shiny.
Well, what about the working pro, the guy that's been doing it for a long time?
For the working pro, I think the opposite happens is you got to be careful not to get burned out. Like you just said, getting up at 5 a.m. and earlier to get on the road to go do these shows for schools, that can become a grind.
Yep.
For those guys who travel by plane and stuff, I'm old enough to remember before 9/11 when it was much easier to travel. You get to the airport an hour and 15 minutes early, even for an international flight, and there was no problem. You could you'd have to go through such bad security measures and stuff. You could breeze through and get on the plane. Now, you got to get to every airport 2.5 hours early. You got to go through security. You can only bring so much stuff with you. It really does start becoming a grind and burning out. You got to take a deep breath, do some yoga. Remember how lucky and fortunate we are. This doesn't feel like work sometimes because I love doing it so much. Yes, it is work, but it's not work like the guy who sweeps the streets. It's not work like a guy who's pouring tar on a hot roof in the summer.
Wait, it's funny you tell that story. I always tell this story. Did you read that from me somewhere? Because here's one of the things that I always say. Whenever I'm driving and whenever I'm feeling burnout,
Yes.
I always say to myself, it's better than roofing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And what that means to me is years ago, I was driving on the 405 freeway of all
Right.
things. I was tired and I just finished a show and I was stuck in traffic and I was feeling like, oh, this is a horrible situation. And then I look over to my left and there's all these guys on the top of a roof roofing in the middle of summer, 100-degree temperatures in LA. And I say to myself, you know what? I'm sitting back in my air-conditioned car. I just finished doing something that I love doing. And you know what? It's better than roofing.
It's a matter of perspective. Again, we've got a sweet deal when we think about it.
Yep.
Every day above the ground is a good one. So I'm sitting here talking to you, having a great time, telling jokes, sharing information. It's a good life. Please, on those days when you're feeling burnt out, when you're like, I don't want to do this show, remember how great you have it.
Yep.
It's tough, but that's all I can recommend.
Now tell us, I have a bunch of your products. Tell us about the different products and you have something, is it fairly new, the Baxt Better Book Test?
Oh, yeah. So, again, like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I've been doing mentalism, an entire mentalism show. And I'm not normally a guy you would think would be a spooky and serious mentalist, mind reader type guy. However, I do a wonderful show of mind reading. It's in my style. And one of the classics of mind reading is what's called a book test. That's where someone picks up a book and turns to any page they want, and the magician or the mind reader tells them exactly what word they thought of. It's a reputation maker. And there are so many different versions of it, and some of them are very, very expensive and very, very complicated. I came up with my own version called the Baxt Better Book Test. And because I do many shows for schools and family audiences, I wanted to make it up with books the kids would know.
Oh.
So I've made it up with the Harry Potter books, the Twilight series of books, the Hunger Games books, and the Allegiant, Divergent, and Insurgent, those are very popular with teens and stuff, series of books, and the Artemis Fowl, a series of books for grade school kids. And it's incredibly easy. I've not released it yet to the public.
Oh.
But I'm sitting here with all these books that are hand gimmicked. So they look like regular books. The audience can examine these books all day and they'll never figure it out. But these books are actually gimmicked to make it as easy as possible for you. And while they're very affordable at $69.95 and $79.95 for these books for your people, John.
Yes.
Your people listening to John Abrams' Variety Podcast, which always has great people on that you should listen to,
Including
all
today.
sorts of stuff. You guys get a discount for you if you order now between I think this is coming out on June 11th. So between June 11th and the end of the month before June 30th, you get the books for only $55 or $65, depending on which book series you want, with shipping included inside the United States.
Nice.
They're great books because they're two real books, but they've been specially gimmicked, so you can do this trick easier and better than anyone else. Plus, there's a video online that shows me doing it in performance at the Magic Castle, and I give you a full manuscript of all the jokes, the tips, the tricks, the bits, so you can do it immediately after reading the instructions. It really is that simple, but it really is that effective.
They get the book itself.
Yes.
They get the routine on DVD of you doing it, a time-tested, proven routine.
Yes, it's not on DVD, though. It's just an online video they can watch.
Okay, an online video,
Right.
Which is where everything's going nowadays.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
they also...
my computer doesn't even have a DVD slot anymore, so yeah.
It doesn't, right?
Right, yeah.
And then they get a transcription or something written. Is that
Yep,
right?
They get I think it's a 7-page manuscript now, and 2 books. They get 2 books. So again, because you start off by saying, hey, how many words do you think there are in a book? And whatever they say, thousands. You go, how many words in 2 books? Ooh, and you pull out these 2 big books and let anyone choose either one of the books they want, and let them choose any word they want, and then someone else from the other book chooses any page they want, and they can check the books to make sure that every page is not the same, that all the pages aren't numbered the same. And again, it packs small, plays big. Again, this is what we're talking about, being burnt out and stuff. If you got to unload stuff every show, you start thinking, I'm getting older and I don't want to carry heavy stuff. When you got, wait, I can get 5 minutes of material and all I got to carry is 2 books? And all the kids will be excited because they all know Harry Potter and Artemis Fowl and the Twilight series and the Hunger Games and the Legion. Wow, quick. I want to buy 3 or 4 of those books, and I'll do it with all, you can do it with all 5 or 10 books if you want.
Now, how do they go about getting that deal? Do they go to your website or your Facebook?
It's not on my website yet. All right, but just for your listeners, if they go to Facebook and they go to the www.robertbaxt.com page. So this is important. This isn't my website, www.robertbaxt.com. This is the Facebook page. That is Facebook/www.robertbaxt.com. They'll find the special deal there with the link to where they can see the video and the description and all the extra information, even more than what I've just said right now.
Perfect. And then they just put variety in the cart. Is that how that works?
That's when they go to checkout, they send me money through PayPal. This way it's perfectly safe and protected at all times. And they have to say the special code word variety, and they will get them at this discount rate. And very important, because these books are all real books that I've hand gimmicked myself, they're limited. I don't have thousands of these. So it's first come, first serve for the titles people want. So I may not have all the books available in every single title that everybody wants. So
do it quick, because when they're gone, they're gone.
Order now before midnight. Operators are standing by. They're standing by because we sold their chairs. Yes. Order now before they're all gone. Thank you, John.
You're very welcome. Okay. And other than your book test, do you have a book recommendation for us?
Man, I'm a big fan of autobiographies of other people in show business, because reading other people's struggles certainly makes me realize, if they can do it, I can do it too. And for instance, Steve Martin's autobiography, Born Standing Up.
Yep, I read it. It's terrific.
Oh yeah, there you go. Because he's a variety performer, did magic tricks, played the banjo, juggled, all sorts of stuff like that. And now he's freaking Steve Martin. Yeah. It could happen to him. It could happen to any of us. The other book, though, that I like is A Whack on the Side of the Head. Oh. Whack on the Side of the Head is one of those self-help books you'll find in the self-help section of a bookstore. Bookstore. That you'll find on Amazon or eBay, I meant to say. And it's a book on creativity, on thinking outside the box. There's nothing wrong with the box. There's nothing wrong with being inside the box. But the problem with that is that so is everybody else. The moment you step outside the box, people go, wow, this guy's not in the box with all of us. Hey, this is good. A book like that, A Whack on the Side of the Head, to be very, very helpful, just to change your way of thinking, because we all get caught up in what we're doing and the ways we're thinking. So thinking outside the box, especially for us creative types who are doing variety performances and stuff, is certainly very, very helpful.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to let you go because I know your time's valuable. I'm on my way to a show. I bet you are too.
I got to go to the bank and cash all the checks. That's what I got to do. That's my favorite thing. And then seriously, no joke, I have to go to the post office. Like we said, multiple streams of income. People order my stuff online at www.robertbaxt.com/shop.html. And this book test that will soon be available there. And I have to go to the post office, and that's a lot easier than packing the car and driving at 5 a.m. to get to do the show in 70-mile winds.
Much better.
Yep.
Thanks again, Robert. You are so awesome.
I thank you, John. You are equally awesome, and I appreciate all your hard work in bringing all this information from me and everyone else you have on your podcast.
Me too, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Other than robertbaxt.com, do you have an email or something, or if someone wants to get a hold of you?
Of course. My email is robert@robertbaxt.com. My regular Facebook page is Facebook/RobertBaxt, but the Facebook page for this book test is Facebook/www.robertbaxt.com for the special offer just for your listeners.
Perfect. And thank you to all my variety artists. If you found this podcast valuable, tell a friend. That's how we can spread the word. And by the way, the game that we played with Robert, where he told great stories and had great headlines, is brand new. So tell me what you think of that. feel free to reach me at john@thevarietyartist.com or join my Facebook group at The Variety Artist, where you can ask me to ask questions of our guests. Or on Twitter, I'm at The Variety Artists with no T on the end because we didn't have room for it. So it's The Variety Artists. Or visit my website at www.thevarietyartist.com, where you'll find super informative blogs and all the show notes from today's interview. Now go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.
That's all for this episode of The Variety Artist, but your journey continues on our website. Go to thevarietyartist.com for more strategies, insight, and resources, as well as show notes on today's guest to assist you in your career. We'll see you on the next episode of The Variety Artist. But until then, go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.